Hey everyone, and welcome back to Smart Talk. Melissa, Mark, and I are so glad you were joining us. Say hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody. Happy hands.
Happy hands, happy hands. We are so excited to be here with you today because we've got to talk about some really good inspirational topics today as we go into the new year. And we wanted to inspire you with some failing forward to success stories. Some people that you are going to know that failed and moved forward and became a success because of the lessons they learned because of their failure. So we are going to dive right in and talk about some of these. And if you know any success stories that have come from like rags to riches or failures to success, let us know. But I know one thing. I don't know anyone. Mark, Melissa, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know any success story that didn't have bumps and bruises and failures. It's just how many times did you get up, right?
Exactly.
Well,
Fall down 7, get up 8.
Yeah, Mark, you probably know the quote better than I do, but like, and this is not one of our people, but like Michael Jordan always talked about how he was always given credit for how many shots he made and rebounds he made, but he wasn't given credit for how many he didn't make. Right.
That was like
Right.
Babe Ruth, the same thing. Babe Ruth, they asked him how did you hit so many home runs? He goes, because I didn't hit, I what do you call it? Struck out more times than anyone else.
Right.
Well, and that's what happens is, in order to be successful, you have to fail forward.
Really
It very rarely do people hit the lottery when it comes to success and lasting legacies. The Steve Jobs of the world, the Bill Gateses of the world. You have to have experienced a little bit of failure and some disappointment in order to polish off that idea and make it even better so that it is here for generations. Imagine if Steve Jobs had quit.
Right.
Imagine if Bill Gates had quit. Imagine if Oprah had quit. Someone actually told Oprah she wasn't fit for television.
I know. Imagine.
Me? Right? Like who?
Well, and here's the thing. It's like, it's also how we teach our children what the word failure means. Like I know with my son, he's kind of a perfectionist. I'm learning and I'm trying to teach him that the P word, it's a different word in our house, perfection. The P word does not apply in our house. And he fights me on that. And I'm like, no, failure is okay. Failure is how you learn and failure is opportunity. And I think the people that quit, to Mark's point, are the people who think failure means I'm buying into the fact that failure means the end, where failure for a lot of people is, okay, I got that out of the way. Now the odds are in my favor. Once you get that failure out of the way, then the odds are in your favor.
And sometimes if you get, I know if I, hit a lull or hit a plateau or you fail at something, we all do. I like to look up because it re-inspires me that, okay, I'm not alone. Failure is okay. It's your best learning. And there's a graphic that I'll show that about this guy with a pickaxe going, trying to pick at this rock, trying to get to the gold. And then he turns around and walks away right before the gold is right there behind the wall. And it just reminds you, don't quit. You're just one pickaxe away from reaching that gold. And 1,000 ways it doesn't work. That one way, like Thomas Edison, 1,000 ways doesn't work. That 1,001 is what we needed you to keep on going. So never quit.
Well, especially think about us in this business. If you quit after the first no, I mean, I can't tell you how many resumes I sent out before I got that first job. And, my dad at the same time was, hey, it's their loss. My dad was great for perseverance. I mean, he grew up in the segregated South. He played baseball. They used to ride buses through the segregated South in the 50s. He knew what perseverance was all about. And so when I was applying for television jobs, he's like, do you want to be on television? Well, keep applying. And, and even when I got into the business and had been in the business for a few years and wanted that great job, there were people who said no. There were people who didn't respond. Yeah. There were people who weren't interested. And, especially, in competitive arenas, if you're not going to persevere, if you're afraid of someone saying no, or if you're afraid of failure,
making a fool of yourself. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, and to your point, I think your dad made a great, my point is what your dad said about, do you want to be on television? Like for me, I wanted to be in media. It was instinctual. It was in my blood when I was in elementary school. I wanted to be a performer, a storyteller. And then I realized I was gay. And so if you asked anybody, okay, I'm going to be an out lesbian in a major market and I'm going to be a celebrity, what do you think? Everybody would have told me no.
Yeah.
So I didn't think about the obstacles. I didn't think about that possibly being a factor. And then I ended up being one of the first out lesbians in media, not only in Atlanta, but in the country. And so if you love what you're doing, all those things don't apply. Like it truly was not a concern of mine or a stress of mine because I loved what I did. And I had no problem being somebody who was going to blaze the trail for others. And so that's something else you may end up having to do is blaze a trail, but don't be afraid to do it.
I love that. And it's so important to blaze the trail and think about that and not always think about it. Is kind of selfish when you think about not pursuing because you're failing. Don't be selfish. You have a legacy to live to show other people like yourself that you can do it. I love succeeding to show the people you can do it too. It's not just when I do it. And when I was an actress and I was back doing the soap operas and stuff, my agent one time told us the best
we got to
advice.
show those. I'm not trying to interrupt, but we got to show clips of those. But anyway,
yeah, we're gonna have to see that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have
we'll
to
do
see
a
that.
throwback Thursday. Oh, they always want to embarrass me. It's okay. Yeah. I'll find them. Okay. But the best advice I got, and then we're going to get to Mark, you're going to tell some of the famous people we know, was when you go to the auditions, because talk about needing thick skin. You can't be, and like you said, in this business, and I was on that side of being an actress and just wanting this more than anything to win an Oscar, win the Emmy as an actress. And audition after audition, you're going to get told no a whole lot more than you're ever going to get a yes. And they said, give the casting director the opportunity to say no to you. So if you think about, okay, I'm going to go and give him the opportunity to have the choice to say no. So it's my choice. I'm in control. If he says no, it's okay. I gave him that opportunity because you will get the yeses in there. But it took all the stress of, oh my God, what if they don't like me? They might not.
Right.
Give them that chance to because the one audition that I almost didn't go to, I said, I'm just not going to get this crazy. It's in a musical and it was Anything Goes and it was a big production. I'm like, almost didn't go. That was the one I got my first leading role.
Nice.
Wow.
Got to do it.
Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
You know what? I spent 10 years in Atlanta on Good Day Atlanta, and I almost wasn't going to come to the interview because I was convinced I was getting a job in DC.
Look at you.
And thank God I came because the DC job blew up. And it was the only job that I had ever gotten a personal interview on and didn't get.
Really?
Yeah.
The DC job.
Yeah. And to this day, you know, I am so thankful.
Where are they now?
Exactly. Exactly. Look at me. I'm in my basement doing big things right here.
Where's DC? Whatever.
Who on you, pal?
They're in the same room with the people that rejected Oprah.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
All right, well, let's get to some famous people. So, Mark, go ahead and start. Tell us some of your famous people that failed forward to success and maybe a lesson that we can learn from that.
Oh, the greatest tasting failure in the world. And by the way, if you travel the world, you will see these places all over the globe. Colonel Sanders in Kentucky Fried Chicken. Okay, he took his Social Security check, right? And went out with his formula and pitched.
Let me stop you there. You said Social Security check. So that meant he was old enough to get Social Security.
Yes, he
How old
was 62.
was he?
62.
62.
And at that age, he still had the perseverance to shop. 1,009 people rejected him, according to some of the reports I found.
Wow.
1,009 people said, yeah, your herbs and spices aren't good enough.
Most people quit after one rejection.
That? Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Or 10 or 100.
And so no meant next to the Colonel. And so at 62 years old, you know, he finally struck the right combination and hit it big.
Say that again, Mark, because that is really good people say. No means next.
Yes, that's a great phrase.
That's the hashtag for the day.
Yeah, and that's the way you got to look at it. You know, no means next, and just keep it moving and move on to the next one.
And Mark, I love that he was old. Really love the fact we're 62. You think of that when you're 21, 31, you're going to conquer the world. The man was 62. So stop telling us viewers that you're too old, you hit 40 or you hit 35. I don't want to hear it.
I'm all washed up. No, you're not. You're just, are you living or are you alive?
Do we know how old he lived to be?
How old did he live?
I do not.
I don't know how old he lived to be, but think about the fact that, you know, for a lot of people who retire, they have this mentality. It's like, you're going to live 20 or 30 more years past retirement.
Yes.
And here he is inventing something that we still use today and still love today. And it was so, I think of like after church lunches, you know, we got to go to those, you know, fun fast food places after church, and KFC was one of them. And it's like, And it's because of a guy who believed in what he was doing so much that he knew that somebody would say yes to it, and then it became an empire.
And he
remember
died
when
at
Extra
90.
Crispy-
He lived to
90.
90.
Look at that.
Yeah.
That's a
Because
couple of years.
he was
That's years.
alive. He wasn't just living.
Exactly.
He was full of life.
I love that.
You
I
know?
love
right.
that.
You remember when Extra Crispy came out? I was like, whoa, the Colonel's got Extra Crispy now. So you can get the regular or you can get Extra Crispy.
And another thing I know from that is we're talking about our niches. You know, in this day and age, you hear that a lot being an influencer. Fried chicken is not for everybody. You don't need the entire world to like your product. And I'm sorry, Mark. But I mean, you've got vegans out there.
You are from New York, aren't you?
Yes. We eat a lot of fried chicken.
All those rejections, those 1,000 rejections,
yes.
people that don't need what he had to offer. He had to find his people, his tribe. And so do you, as people watching the show. Find your tribe that need it. If you're passionate about it and you know it's a good recipe for success or good product service, you just need to find the people that also need it. So don't stop. He just talked to 1,000 of the wrong people. And I bet they're eating the fried chicken now, though. That's all I'm saying.
Well, think about it. Even with all the competition that he has, it's still going strong. There are still, you can find a Kentucky Fried Chicken if you really want one. I mean, you know, it's not like Popeyes where they're spotty here and there.
Right.
You got to look for them.
Look,
You got to Google them.
I may have a crush on the Church's Chicken lady. Isn't she Church's Chicken?
Church's
Popeye's
Chicken,
Church's,
yeah.
Church's
Popeyes. Popeyes has the lady that's down in New Orleans.
Okay, so
Popeyes. Oh, that's right. That's right. Oh my goodness.
See, honey, I love you, and I'm sorry I didn't know which franchise you're part of, but I have a huge crush on the Popeyes Chicken lady.
Yeah.
However, I still like KFC.
Yeah, KFC's right up there. KFC's top
of the line. Mark, who's next?
So I'm going to stay on the chicken theme and chicken soup for the soul with Jack Canfield.
Love.
You know, so Jack literally, and I heard him speak 2 Super Bowls ago here in Atlanta, and he talked about taking his concept, chicken soup for the soul, and pitching it to hundreds of publishers.
Yeah.
And they all said no. And he finally got that one that bought in and believed. And so what Jack did was he took this entire experience and said, whoa, there are so many lessons that I can help people learn, from my teaching days in Chicago to my perseverance and persistence as an author, because I had a concept that I believed in and I knew I could make a difference in people's lives. Jack is all about serving. I call him Jack like we're best friends. But Mr. Canfield.
JJ.
Melissa name dropping.
Yeah. JJ, when you're drinking, buddies.
But he has his training platform that he teaches. People buy it from all over the world. His goal right now, and I completed the course a couple years ago, is to get 1 million trainers around the world and have them all making a difference in people's lives. Because how many?
I was going to say, how many people rejected him? Because I know Mark Victor Hansen, and he used to say
it was like 150, like some ridiculous number of publishers. I mean, he just kept showing up. He just kept showing up. And you know, that is kind of our motto. My son plays pro hockey. And so like when it started getting difficult in high school and his friends were signing or accepting offers to colleges to play and he hadn't had one yet, I said, just keep showing up. Keep showing up, because the harder it gets, the more people fall by the wayside. And sure enough, you know, the kids that he started playing with at 8, 9, 10, they had long packed it in because it was too hard. And finally, when I'll never forget the text message he sent me when the University of Maine and Boston University offered him to come play at their schools. And he sent me a text message with the coach's business cards. And he's like, who's one of the top defensemen in all of New England high school right now? And he was so proud of it. And I said, what did I tell you? I said, keep showing up.
Melissa, look at that proud papa's face. You just see baby.
But it's all about persevering. You haven't failed. You just haven't reached your goal yet. So
and like Melissa said, what's what we're showing our kids. Let our kids know about these, you know, failures to success as well. It's really important they know, because we're all going to start failing at a very young age.
Well, that's what life is.
And I think that, you know, my first examples go right with what Mark said. And one of the things that the lessons that I have with this too is patience. So I think you factor in, number one, if you fail and you don't want to keep going, maybe that's not your calling. You know, that failure sometimes can also teach you this isn't your thing. Like the universe is trying to gear you into a different direction. If failure is motivating for you, if it's the no means next, if you have this idea that I'm mad because you don't understand me and I'm going to make you understand me, then that's the right path for you. And you keep showing up, just like Mark said.
Yeah.
And so two of the people I have three people. Too quickly, I'll put them together because they're also writers.
Yeah.
And they're writers that you've read more than likely. And that's Stephen King and J.K. Rowling. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So
J.K. Rowling's Harry
stories.
Potter, if nobody knows.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah. J.K. Rowling, Harry Potter, and Stephen King, so many things, but Carrie was his first novel.
Mhm.
And so the lesson here is, again, the fact of patience, not just being like, oh, I'm going to give up because I first got rejected, but we live in such an instant gratification society more and more
Especially
as time goes
now.
on.
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
That if you have the patience, like, Colonel Sanders with
Yeah.
Jack, JJ,
Mhm.
and with Stephen King and J.K. Rowling, look at the backside of their success. That is generational. It's not just
Right.
decades and years,
Mhm.
it's generational, their success. So a little bit of patience in the beginning can bring so much reward at the end. So Stephen King, Carrie rejected by 30 publishers.
Mhm.
Wow.
The story goes, he was dumping that in the trash, and his wife is the one that picked it up and said, "You've got something good here. Keep going." So much like
See?
Mark with his son, it
I
was
love
his
that.
wife, who was also a writer, who
I love
said, "You
that.
need to keep going."
And that's a
with
tough
J.K.
career.
Rowling,
Yeah, you have to be
it
ready
was-
for rejection if you're a writer, for sure.
exactly. And J.K. Rowling is 12 publishers. And you know the story of J.K. Rowling. If you don't, she was on the equivalent of food stamps in
Living
the
in her
United
car.
Kingdom. And she
Mhm.
was writing these, concepts on napkins in a coffee shop, and then developed it. And Harry Potter actually came from her childhood games she would play with her brother and her neighborhood friends. So she just believed in what she did. She lived it as a kid, and it had
Yeah.
special meaning to her. And now look at where she
Yeah.
is. Oh, so the last person, because obviously I love my world of imagination and that could, yeah.
I never would have guessed.
No.
Right? Walt Disney. So Walt Disney,
I
one
love
of
this story.
these stories, or one of the stories about him is, he's originally from Kansas, and the Kansas City Star newspaper, he was working for them and they fired him. And the reason for them firing him is they said that he lacked imagination.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's the
so-
biggest kick in the butt of history. Like Oprah, not made for
Right.
television. Don't you want to
Right.
be one of those people that just prove them by being successful? Oh my gosh. Love
Well, and
that.
I also think that one last thing is, to that point, there's a lot of busy editors. There's a lot of busy producers in
Yep.
television. There's a lot of busy people that just kind of came across Oprah maybe for 5 minutes and said, no, she's not it. Came across, Stephen King, Carrie, and said, not my thing. Harry Potter, well, that's kind of ridiculous. I'm not into wizards. So
Right.
the other thing is, you believe in your dream. Don't, quit thinking that somebody else has to validate it.
No
They
kidding.
just have to connect to it. So if you
Right.
believe in your dream, you're the only person who has to believe in it. Just
And
keep
this
going.
day and age, unlike what they had back in their time, was we've got the internet. So you can create your own platform now. I mean, I didn't wait to be hired, in show business. Eventually, years later, I created my own TV show, not to win anything, but because I had a story to tell. And just because of the availability we have now with doing our own thing, you can do that now. And the things that it wanted, the way it propelled me was icing. But you can truly do your dream now and not wait for somebody else to hire you. You can self-publish now. You can do your podcast.
Yeah.
You can do your YouTubes, and you can go viral again with your own tribe saying, "I get you. I love it." They laugh at your jokes, or they get your imagination. So stop.
Well, one of the
Nobody wait around for anybody to
downsides.
hire you anymore.
Well, one of the downsides of the technology, though, is there's a lot more feedback than you would get trying to submit this to a publisher.
Don't read the comments.
What
Don't read the comments.
exactly?
I was gonna say,
One publisher.
Comments.
One publisher is telling you yes or no, where if you do this on your own, you have 300 people saying that
Oh,
you
3,000.
wore the wrong shirt, or so
Block that
again,
out.
just there's a balance to it both. But Ray is right. You can do your own thing with the right tools. It's just the core thing you got to do is believe in yourself, believe in what you're doing, and go for it. Don't give up on yourself.
Never. Absolutely. And that's like back in the old days when people wouldn't read the Siskel and Ebert reviews. I mean, or the reviews Variety was saying, like, don't read it. All the Inquirer magazines. They tell
Well, they
them,
were choir boys compared to what's out there today.
I
the
know,
feedback you get today.
Exactly.
keep a
That's
tough
right.
skin and you guys can do
This
it
is
too.
this is the worst thing you could get on Cisco and eBay.
Right.
You can have the tool.
There's other levels of communication you get from other people. So.
Right. Especially these days. They've got them in emoji form too, which is awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they're animated.
Yeah.
Yes.
We have a delete button. Delete, delete, delete. So
and they flip upon request. Then you can make a flip. There you go.
Wow. Okay. I bet my next person is glad that he wasn't alive during this time. And so now each one of us have a writer. I think writers are the most creative, and it probably was the toughest thing back in the day when you couldn't self-publish. It really was. You had no way to break your own glass ceiling. You had to wait for somebody to accept you. Gosh, that was tough. But the one and only for the kids for this holiday season, none other than Dr. Seuss. Yes, fail forward to success. Did you know his real name was Theodore Seuss Gizel or Geisel? Not sure. And he pursued his career of drawing after going to Oxford, where he enrolled with the intention of getting his PhD in English literature. Look at that. But in 1928, he got married and he worked drawing advertisement, and he did advertising for NBC, Standard Oil. And then after 9 years, he wrote a book called And to Think I Saw It on Mulberry Street. Ultimately, it led him to this John O'Hara, who had held the office of president of a company, to remark that I've published any number of great writers from William Faulkner to John O'Hara, but there's only one genius in my author's list, and his name is Dr. Seuss. Wow. So he sold over 600 million copies of his books, translated in 20 different languages, and he was rejected 28 times. And back then there weren't that many publishers. Right. So that is equivalent to like 1,000 this day, because by almost every single publisher, they didn't want anything to do with them.
And I guarantee that he got rejected by his peers at Oxford because, I mean, to be an English lit dude and then to write what he wrote, which was a lot of crazy words, you know, and mispronunciations and everything. So he kind of went against, you know, the standard of English in order to do what he did. So
I think that's great.
And their formality, you know how formal the English are, right?
Exactly.
You know, that must have been a tough pill for them to swallow.
You're writing what? What the who's and the what?
And the egg and a who and a ham and a what?
They got stars on their belly, but what's going on with these people?
Oh, what a hit. What a hit. So let it go, people. Get out there and do it, because there's an audience for you, and who knows, you might be.
Here's the what? What are you talking? I don't understand.
It's the craziest books. Oh my gosh, 600.
I mean, just imagine if these folks had quit. We would be missing so much.
Seuss, imagine oh God, we've all grown up with Dr. Seuss.
Just imagine being without Dr. Seuss for our kid. I mean, because that's something we can share with our kids, you know. And even now that it's in animated form and on Netflix, I mean, you can find Dr. Seuss. It's part of the lexicon.
It is,
and I think imitation is the biggest form of flattery, because if somebody's so inspired by you and want to do what you do, and I remember I was at the University of Tennessee when he died, and the college newspaper. One of the college newspaper reporters wrote his obituary in the form of a Dr. Seuss story. And I kept that for years. And then I discarded it, but it was so creative. And I was so touched by this late teens, early 20s guy who was so moved by his death that he had to, give him homage in the only appropriate way he could. Was so sweet. And so it shows his influence.
That's great. You know, you'll have a select group of people that are reading Pride and Prejudice or Hamlet, but the whole world reads Dr. Seuss.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Really,
yeah. And who doesn't love Dr. Seuss? Well, we could probably find some people to get in an argument with right now.
That's a different show.
Because the facts are not the facts anymore.
You don't speak for me. You don't speak for me.
That's right. It's not real.
Well, Melissa,
the cat in the hat's gonna come to your house and gonna show you exactly.
We're gonna protest Dr. Seuss in the state.
Well, Melissa, I think too have something to say about it. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, this next one's for you, my dear.
Okay.
And I saw this one. I thought of Melissa.
Okay.
Our wonderful George Lucas. Imagine a world without Star Wars.
No.
Wow.
Almost happened. You know, did you know though that he was a race car driver? But after a horrible car crash that nearly killed him, he abandoned his obsession with race car driving.
Did not know that.
Wow.
His first big hit was American Graffiti, but
Mhm.
Star Wars was rejected by studios like United Artists and Universal. They both didn't want it, but it didn't deter him because eventually he got 20th Century Fox to pick it up. And later, they said, I don't understand this, but I loved American Graffiti. So whatever you're doing, I'm in. That's belief. When 20th Century Fox said, not really sure about this Star Wars concept, but I liked what you did in the past. So I'm going to give you a shot. Whatever you got, I'm going to do it. Those are the really cool balcony people we all need in our life.
And can I just tell you that I remember as a kid going to the movie theater with my mom and dad to sit as a family and watch the very first Star Wars. We went to the Beach Cinema right there on Route 6, right up in Little Peekskill. And it was my first, sci-fi type of movie, right?
All of us, yeah.
Yeah, and it was crazy, just because I remember Earthquake and Sense around, but Star Wars was like all we talked about for like 2 weeks in school.
That's right.
It was insane.
Really?
I saw it at a drive-in theater.
Oh, wow.
They're all so much older than me. I don't know what they're talking about.
It was a double feature, and the first sci-fi film had Christopher Plummer in it. So because I remember him from Sound of Music, and now I have to look it up because it's obviously not one of his memorable films. And then Star Wars, and I was sitting on the hood of the car with the speaker outside.
Melissa, can you explain to people what a double feature is?
Oh, yes.
We have some folks.
Yes. First of all, drive-in theaters where you use
they're coming back.
And you have the theaters on your window. And then, because some people have watched movies that way and concerts that way during the pandemic.
Yes,
and then a double feature was that you had one movie and then the second movie started playing right after the first.
How about that, huh?
2 for 1. 2 for 1.
You know what that would cost right now if you went to a double feature? It would cost about $100.
Exactly, per film.
The new age double features, you pay for one ticket, then you sneak into the other theater.
Right.
I've never done that.
Well, but there's 2 points about George Lucas. One, that he had the accident, and for a lot of people that would have just derailed them into depression, like whatever
Find another talent.
Yes, but
Yeah,
he
more
found
than one
something
talent.
else, or he dug up something he had probably played around with, which was Star Wars, and said, well, let me do something with this. The second thing I know about him is that he was a part of a peer group. So there were peer filmmakers, like the Steven Spielbergs. I think Martin Scorsese was in his peer group, and these were young filmmakers.
Yeah.
Were buddies who just passed, would sit around and then pass each other their ideas and see what they thought. And even in his peer group, they were like, we don't understand what this Star Wars thing is. So he didn't have anybody on his side in the beginning of that. And look, he is more successful than all those other people
combined.
Yeah. When you're breaking ground like that, you've got a new concept. Like, think about Uber, think about Airbnb, think about the new concepts. They're always tough to get an audience, but if you really believe in it, do it anyway. And I love, again, you're right. He was in that circle. So you've got to get into your circle of influence. You can't stay out by yourself. You got to get into conversations, smart people. But that 20th Century Fox said, okay, I get American Graffiti. That was a hit. Now you're doing something totally different, but that was a hit.
But he went around, he went around again. He went American Graffiti first. He said, okay, I'll play the game. I'll give you American Graffiti.
Let me show you I can do the mainstream.
I'll show you. I prove to you. Look, I'm a good director. I've got this for you. I wrote this and I want to direct this. So what do you think about this? And they were like, all right, I'll do it on faith.
But here's the other thing I guarantee you every one of these success stories that we're talking about has done. And that is they realize that failure is okay, but they also listen to feedback, right?
Yeah.
Because feedback can't scare you and feedback shouldn't be able to knock you off your path. Right. And steal that vision and that dream from you. Because if you have the vision and you believe in it, like who would have thunk, the most successful, place to go for a vacation is a company that doesn't own one single vacation property. Or the best transportation mode these days is a company that doesn't own one vehicle.
No.
Right.
It's all in the app.
Right.
And so somebody had that vision and said, hey, you need a ride home? How about you just call one central location? We hook you up with somebody that happens to be near you, and they'll come scoop you up, and you pay them directly.
The way it started was somebody said, we got to figure this out, but I'm not sure how to do it yet. Hold on. And then you come together with other people and say, what is your idea? Well, they could just drive their own cars. Well, what? You really think they would do that? So it's an evolution. So it's never an overnight thing. Most of these ideas, like you said, stick with your core, but you're right. Don't be so rigid that your idea in its first entity is the exact right thing.
And I have to tell you, I'm the New Yorker. I mean, born and raised in New York City, where my mom said, you never get into a gypsy cab.
Ever.
So when Uber first came out, I'm thinking, I am never in a million years getting into a stranger's car. I don't know who they are. It's a gypsy cab to me. And I was one of the last people to jump on it because all my girlfriends were traveling. They were jumping. I'm like, they're getting Uber. Who are these people? But I didn't know all about, how much was going on the app. And so now I love it. But boy, I would have been one of those. I'd never get one of those things. They're strangers. So I'm going to put my daughter in one of those Uber gypsy cabs. So, but you can't make a believer out of people. You find the trendy people that know how it works. And then we come along that we don't understand. We come along.
Well, the other thing too is if you're somebody with a great invention, that feedback you just had, the best thing you can do to somebody is say, all right, so I want to do something that's going to compete with taxis. What's your biggest fear about not getting in a taxi? And then address it. So I know that when I did radio and I was somebody that endorsed certain companies and they asked me to write their commercials and voice their commercials, my first question with them was, what's the elephant in the room? What is your biggest criticism as a company? And then let's address it in the commercial. And that way, if you would, admit, okay, there's some holes in this, how can we fill these holes? Then you'll be successful. Don't give up on your product. But
oh wow, you guys had to do that? You learn something new every day.
But if you give up on your product too soon, again, to me, that's an indication you weren't into it to begin with.
Melissa, can I just say nothing hacks me off right now, like in this last few years, than people who have had ideas and haven't tried to see them through. It chaps me. I'm like, why would you do that?
Regret.
Right.
Well, and I have siblings. My siblings are brilliant people. I have a brother and a sister, both older than me, and I'm afraid they fall into that category. We would sit around as kids and they would have these brilliant ideas. And then that was the end of the conversation. And I remember growing up, and there's been a part of me in motivating myself thinking, I don't want to see something on television, or out in the world that I thought of, 10 years ago.
Oh
10 years ago.
If it ever happened to you, it's a good thing to think about. Is there something running around the world? You say, I thought of that as a kid. Well, you didn't take action. And I always think, and we'll move on because then we have to close up, but I always think about, because I talk about legacy a lot. And when I had cancer, I think about how people remember you and what do you think of maybe when you're in the retirement home. And the biggest regrets that the people have in the retirement home is the regrets of those things they didn't try.
Didn't pursue.
Be like Mark Twain, who says, I want to be totally used up when I die. Try it all, fail it all. Who cares?
Yeah, I'd love to die worn out.
Yeah.
That would be great. And it's not a coincidence that people who don't retire, who keep working, live longer.
Live longer. Yeah.
And one point, I think that the reason that a lot of people don't try, if you further ask questions to the elderly about why they didn't try it, because my mom said I shouldn't.
Somebody told them.
Somebody close to them told them. And so to me, I think there's a responsibility in your family. If you're part of that family, then you're going to have to learn to undo that and do it anyway. But if you have
That's why you never tell your kids you can't do something.
You have to,
ever.
You have to be.
It's like abuse.
Yes.
Yeah, Mark, preach it. It's abuse. It is.
Well, no, it's true, because I think so many families are build themselves on this structure of obligation.
Right.
And I think that is the worst thing you can do for your family. It should be a core of love, and love means they get to do what they feel is right, even if you don't understand it.
I think this generation is getting so much better too, because I think this is more the norm now, to let your children be who they are and believe in them. Whatever crazy ideas they have, it's fine. Go for it. In this day and age, with all our technology, you really can try anything. You got teenagers, like we've talked about, making millions of dollars on the internet. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, wouldn't be doing that. It's like, go get a real job, go to college, get a job, leave in 30 years with a gold watch. It's not that way anymore.
It's not happening.
Do you know who Hugh Hefner's first, where he got his first loan for Playboy, was his own mother?
Oh.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's a mama's love right there. It's like that.
It is.
You say you want to do what, honey?
Exactly.
You want to do what?
But it was his dream. And she
it was
his dream. Exactly. So, I mean, that's what you have to do as a family member. You have to.
I'm not going to say what kind of dream it was.
Mark, do I have to get that disclaimer out again?
He should do the first not so smart, don't you think?
Yes, Mark, do the not so smart and we'll get off this.
Are we ready for that?
You all know who was on the first cover.
It's a nice segue. Nice segue.
Nice segue.
Segue.
But Mark,
all right.
Mark, who was on the first cover though? Do you know?
Oh, I do not know. Was it? Hold it. Let me guess.
I know this and you don't.
Not Marilyn Monroe.
Yes, it was.
That's my guess. Yeah.
Things
Marilyn Monroe.
Random things
Wow.
I know.
Yeah, she was amazing. What a talent. Let's go to Berlin and look at the police blotter over there in southern Germany. They've opened an investigation into the disappearance of this thing right here. It's a large wooden sculpture of a phallus. Also known.
I don't recognize that. What is that?
Yeah, it's weird if you kind of look.
Because I'm a lesbian. I don't understand what this is.
It's human anatomy.
I have a son. It's fine.
Oh my God.
It's pointed down during bath time.
Disclaimers.
So this is on a mountainside. And there's a local newspaper out there, the Allgäuer Zeitung, which reported Monday that, this is a while back, that the almost 7-foot tall sculpture has been, let's say, chopped down into a sorry pile of sawdust. And police are now investigating. Now, why is this my not so smart?
Yeah, why is it?
I'm just thinking it's not really a good use of police resources. Like, I get it. You know, this was a cultural monument, you know, it meant something. It was even on Google. You could Google this thing and climb the mountain and go take a look at it, take a picture. I mean, yeah, but I just think there are better resources.
Climb up the flagpole.
Oh wow! Just run it up the flagpole. Just run it up the pole. See what happens.
Bleep. Disclaimers.
Stay off the pole.
Where's the artist? I want the artist to come forward and take credit for his work.
There you go. All right. Well, that's
figure that out.
Have other things to do, I think. Melissa, please take it away.
Okay. Mine does not have a phallus, but it is about a man. All right. So I don't have his name, but it goes to our cautionary tales of social media. And he was on TikTok and he was so excited about being on TikTok. He wanted one of those viral videos, right? So he boarded a flight of hometown Delta Airlines and he decided he was going to do a TikTok video in the bathroom. Not what you first think about. So he went into the bathroom. He pulled out a steak. Steak as in you eat a steak.
That's what that is.
That's a steak.
Tin foil and a lighter.
Oh my God, a lighter in the airplane.
And he filmed himself grilling his steak in the bathroom.
With a lighter in an airplane.
And well, there's a steak in the bathroom too on this airplane. Yes, I mean, there's so much.
What's wrong with that?
So, needless to say, Delta has banned him from any future flights.
For life? Yeah.
For life. And his TikTok video has been taken down. So his dream of having the viral video did not quite work out.
It's all gone. Was he arrested?
Yeah.
Because he should have been.
Things to do. You can't do things that, you know, are going to be like really dangerous to other people. I mean, it's one thing when people jump in front of the raging bulls and do the crazy stuff, but if you could potentially harm other people, that's a no. That's a no.
Yeah, so, knocking down an airplane, we're gonna frown on that every time, viral video or not.
Yeah, that's good, not cool.
Not cool.
Not so smart.
Not so smart.
That was really good.
Go directly to jail.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
That dude. I love that dude in Monopoly, the jail dude.
Monopoly. All right. Well, mine is fitting for the topic today. I'll try to bring some sanity to the end of the show.
Good luck.
Yeah, I know. This t-shirt is in a department store, God knows where, but I just thought it was needed to be looked over a few more times by the marketers because as you can see, it says, never do your best, quit.
Oh.
Right on 2020. Oh my goodness. I should have a 2020 underneath it.
I know, right? Exactly.
We just spent the last 30 minutes saying, keep it up, don't stop. And
failure's okay.
Never do your best, just quit. On that note, we have to stop. We could talk all day. We love you guys. This has been fun. And if you liked it, share it. Let us know if you fail forward, if you've had a failure and a comeback, and give us your input because we really appreciate those and would love to chat with you. Melissa, Mark, I need more disclaimer boxes, so I'm going to work on that.
Good stiff drink.
I love it. I love you guys.
He said stiff. All right.
Okay. Bye for now. We're signing out. Smart talk.
Bye.
See you next week. Bye,
FCC's on the line. FCC wants to talk to you.
Yeah, I bet they do.
She doesn't run the internet.
Hey, what?